It's at St. Laurent 57. Sober, celibate, and saved. I know it's been a minute since I kind of made a long video. I don't know if it's because I've been tired or because I've been not necessarily inspired by anything, but I've also been really busy. You know, I had, 2 interviews again this week. I got another phone call on another one. So, I'm happy about that. Because, looking for employment, I'm trying to move up in programming I'm in. And, I know God's got me. And so I'm not worried. And then, I scheduled my exam for the peer support specialist, and so I'm really excited about that. I'll be taking that in June. I wish I could take it like right after I got my exam ID, from Cal MSHA, but it's all right. It happens when it's supposed to happen. So I did do that foster care interview in, not foster care, but basically being an advocate for essentially, adult children, trying to help support them in their support families, whether it's foster or biological, especially like on the mental health side, kind of the group of kids that might be a little bit tougher to reach, you know what I mean? Because they've gone through the system for a long time. They've been made, promises that people didn't keep. And they're kind of pissed off, right? They're pissed off and they're hurt. But that interview went super great. I really hope that that's where God puts me. But all I know is that it's really good practice. I've been having really good interviews. I've been getting really good feedback from the people I'm interviewing with. So I'm not really worried about it. I know that I'm on the right track. But it's Saturday night. And of course, Saturday night, I always go to Saturday Night Traditions NA meeting downtown. And that got me a little bit inspired for sure. We had a really great chair. And yeah, he was really great. He was very vulnerable. And, I've been doing a lot of thinking and stuff. And the topic question he gave was, what are you doing for your recovery and you think it's enough? And, I definitely identify with a lot of stuff in his story, a lot of the stuff that the people in the rooms had to say, and being at St. John's, I've been blessed to have the time to get to learn and to know what recovery is. Because, whether we intentionally rely on people or unintentionally have to rely on other things to keep our life going, and when it's not God, and when it's not healthy, and when we're not healthy, it's just a fucking mess, and the one thing for me, like I said, I do a lot of recovery stuff, whether it's trying to get a job in a recovery wellness space, whether it's interviewing with people that are in the industry, being a part of this community of women who are recovering from all different types of things, being a part of Celebrate Recovery Leadership, because I'm in hopes just to share with people who maybe had the same hurts I did or can identify with me, to make them comfortable enough and open their mind to a safe place to heal from the things in life that maybe cultural stigmas, family dynamics, or just our own, lack of knowledge of our own mental health, or just not knowing how much we're a big part of, fucking up our own lives. And, the biggest part of me, and I say it every time I introduce myself, is, being celibate. That is a huge part of my recovery because, there was a lot of things in my childhood that taught me that your worth comes from being attractive to men, your worth comes from being attractive. And that message just goes deeper and deeper, and I've explained it many a time before on, in my channel. And, the biggest, and it's hard to call it a mistake. I don't want to call somebody a mistake. And, I know that I didn't have feelings that were misplaced. My feelings were authentic and real and honest and compassionate, and they were, it was supposed to be for the long haul. I really gave that last relationship my all, but at the same time, being in recovery, I have to know and I have to admit that I wasn't at my best. I could have done better, but what could have been better also could have been walking away earlier, and no matter what, I have forgiven all that have betrayed me. I have forgiven all that have mistreated me. I have forgiven all that have hurt me and my children, right? You have to let go of that shit. But just because I have forgiven doesn't mean that I'm still not hurt by it. And that was a big thing that, even the speaker talked about, that he had to leave a relationship, and even though it hurts and he's still holding on, blah, 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 and other people's stuff. And there's another person in the room who, has gone through the same thing. And it just, it made me think about it again. It was painful, man. It's really painful when you're sincerely, wholeheartedly in a relationship, and no matter how much I know that we always have work to do on ourselves, I loved somebody through all of their pain, everything that they came with, I was willing to work with. There were previous hurts that I had forgiven, because nobody is perfect, and we all have boundaries, and we all draw the line in the sand somewhere. But we kind of attract brokenness if we're broken. But it's not that I didn't know that. But lots of things happened because I trusted somebody. Lots of things happened because, and that's not their fault. And I'm not putting blame on anybody, right? Because that's not right. But lots of things happened to me because I didn't know when to let go. Lots of things happened to me because I wasn't well, and I wanted to just keep going. You know what I mean? I wanted them to be in the same place I was, to commit and to work our shit out together, and knowing that none of your flaws are going to scare me, and please stop shutting down so that we can find joy in our lives together, right? And that's just not how it went. I know that person has a lot of brokenness. They got a lot of brokenness. They have a lot of unhealthy coping skills. Or actually, and just living their whole life in survival mode. They got a lot of hurt from past relationships. And, and something I listened to today. I was watching this Rap House TV interview. Cam Newton and somebody else, right? And the girl was talking about how she knows men. She's been studying men, and how men, and she made the statement that men are really good about only worrying about themselves. And then Cam Newton had basically said about how, I don't think that's it. He's like, I'm really aware of myself. He's like, but I also know, being a man, I affect a lot of people. As a man, a lot of people are depending on me to just do what the fuck I gotta do. Provide, produce, protect, right? No matter how they're feeling, no matter what they're going through, no matter what past traumas come up. You know what I'm saying? And that is, And that is where we are more emotional, and where men might shut down or get angry, or in my case, fucking bounce. You know what I'm saying? Like, and sometimes they can't talk about it. They can't say, hey, if I stay in this relationship, I'm going to keep fucking up your life, because they don't feel too great about themselves, and they know how they can affect the other person. And maybe they see the relationship and the things that are deteriorating. Maybe they know some of it's on them, and the only thing they can think to do is to fucking bounce. And I definitely look at that situation kind of like that. You know what I mean? And everybody's different, but I still strongly, wholeheartedly know I am very empathic, and I didn't just, I wasn't just with a stranger. I knew this man. He had shared things with me, and I paid attention. And I just tried. I wouldn't necessarily say I tried to fix him, but I just tried to show him something different. And not like something that I wasn't just me, but just who I am and what we had. I tried to just show him different. And in the end, he had to choose himself, and he couldn't communicate it. And in the end, as he's falling apart and not being able to talk about it, in the end, I lost my home. I lost my kids. And, I know that my kids miss our home. I know my kids miss our routine. Like, I know my kids miss their things. And I'm responsible for losing that part of their life. Like, if I look back to being a kid and what I loved about home or my own belongings or my comfort, and the fact that I lost that. They're not a place where they can come home to me and they have their kitchen or their friends or the pool or the playground or chalk or just our routine. Like, you know what I mean? That was a big part of their life that I lost. And then you got other people who are pissed off at me for being in a relationship and being left, and, having their own opinions on this man I chose and what kind of predicament it put me in, and maybe what influence they felt that he had on, what went wrong in my life and what I lost. And, it is, but, God has a bigger plan, and God knows that I don't quit. God knows that I just love so fucking hard, and he knows I'm such a fucking dedicated woman, and he knows I love that man, but he knew that, you know what I'm saying, in one way or another, and he knows that there's got to be a bigger sign. There's got to be something to tell me that, like, there's something that's got to force me out of that situation to see what I need to work on and to see what my focus needs to be on. My focus could not, like, my whole entire world could not consist of trying to save this man and try to save our relationship. And that's where my life went. My life and my time went to trying to save a man, save our relationship. And what ended up happening is I lost that man. I lost that relationship. I lost my place. I lost my mind. It broke my heart. I lost my kids. My kids' fathers, I'm sure, have some sort of distrust for me. You know what I mean? Whether or not it's just because they judge who I was with, or they have their opinion they have their own opinion made up about, what I went through and what they have and what they haven't lost and what their partners have and what my partner didn't have, or if their relationship's more successful than mine or what, or just the pattern. I haven't picked good guys, and I've exposed myself in my channel to hopefully save somebody. I've exposed myself in this channel to try to share, because so many women and men go through this where we carry people, we wear our hearts on our sleeves. But I was just a broken woman. I did not know, I didn't know how much work needed to be done on myself. And there was nothing I could have done. You know what I'm saying? And maybe if my partner had been And like maybe he was having his own mental breakdown. Maybe he was struggling so much with knowing he's got his own children. He has his own, he has his own mother of his children and child support and employment and his own past that could hinder his future, and it hinders him finding stable employment, and it hinders him from, how is he going to make everything work? And now, how can he not break this woman's heart? And, and how can he, what can he do? He can't fulfill the promise. He can't fulfill that man role that we all hope a man will fill, to provide, protect, and produce. You know what I'm saying? Like the fact that he could not meet the standards that he once met before, because this season of his life is not, it just isn't built that way. And so this is why, like, my biggest part of my recovery is celibacy, because I'm definitely still heartbroken. I don't hold on to resentment or anger or, you know what I'm saying? Like, and like I said, I have to forgive myself. Otherwise, if I don't forgive myself and I truly try to stay in recovery by being like, oh, I'm shitty and I'm a shitty person and I lost everything and my kids. If I do that, that's going to take me into a relationship to make me feel better. That's going to take me into a relationship, but then depending on somebody to care for me, and then possibly getting stuck in a relationship because I need that shelter and I need that person, financially to take care of me so I can try to provide these things that I want to give back to my kids again, or to distract me from the fact that, rebuilding just takes a while. Or will it take me back out into slowly using? Will it make me want to leave this program and go somewhere where I'm not, being watched and I'm not being monitored? What choice will I make to take me away from recovery if I don't forgive and just grow and recover? And so celibacy is super important because I'm an authentic person. I'm not one, I'm so particular about where I spend my time, which is why I'm grateful I've made really great connections while being at St. John's. I have a great group of women that I love. I have a great couple of besties that I take to meetings, they come to meetings with me, and then there's a couple that I really rely on for their friendship. They mean a lot to me. Like, I can talk to them about things. I can cry to them about things. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have those relationships too. I just lost my place in where I was going with that. But yeah, so I really just lost my place. I hate when I do that. There we go. My point was I'm super particular about how I spend my time. Like, that's why I'm really involved in Celebrate Recovery, and I went into a step study to start learn to get through steps, but also to work them to get into leadership. I'm really involved with the staff here at St. John's. I keep to myself I really program really hard. Like, I wouldn't necessarily say I'm clicked up, but I befriend everybody. But then there's like I said, a couple that are really, important to my recovery and are a big part of my life. And, it's just, I have to be even more particular. I have to choose myself. And because I don't think anybody realizes, especially people who are not familiar with recovery, that I went through life for a long time not choosing myself. I was hoping to find identity. I was hoping, not identity, but I was hoping somebody would fucking see me. I've always hoped and prayed that I would be in a relationship that could have the white picket fence, the house, the pool, my kids, together, extended family, blended family parties, whatever, just a happy ending. Like, and still, even if I have to work but I can, make a difference, but provide and still come home on the weekends, do summers with the kids, all that stuff, like super, like, I really don't want for much, and, but I just, I wanted that. Like, that's all I wanted my whole life. But then I just didn't know how to navigate that. I didn't know how fucked up I was. Like, I mean, there's so many things. Like, even today, the chairperson was talking about how, like, before drugs, attention was addicting. And I definitely understand that, because once I got kicked out of, the childhood home, and I realized that, yeah, Lauren, because in my childhood home, I was told that I wasn't pretty enough, and basically I could never be with anybody, right? And nobody would want to be with me. That's the message I got in my childhood home, right? And so I never looked for it. But when I got kicked out, and I'm out there, and I'm going to school, and I'm riding bar, and I'm on dating sites are a thing, and I'm going out to, different parts of the Bay and hanging out, whatever, wilding out, I realized, like, oh man, this attention thing feels good. And, people will want to be with me. People will want to do things to me. Like, I'm attractive enough, But then, I mean, that's also easy too, because if I'm broken, I'm just going to be attracting the same fucking thing. And whatever brokenness is in me, somebody will prey on that and use that. And because I'm naive, I will accept it. And so, yeah, recovery is super important to me. Taking this time, whether it's forced upon me to be alone, and the distance between my children is forced upon me, and just not having, like, my own place, my own job, like, being back at it, like, I take full advantage of the time by myself, and I'm not just, like, fucking it off. I'm not just, like, messing around. I'm not talking, and I'm not distracting myself. Like, I really am taking the time to get myself better, and to be mentally strong, and to learn to advocate, and to learn to and I have this relationship with God, who really helps guide me back to myself, who's really helping me heal and to love myself and to help me to be successful. And so, that's, so for anyone, like, what are you doing for your recovery, and isn't enough? And, all I can say is I know that as long as I stay positive, as long as I stay grateful, and as long as I find joy, and as long as I keep trying, it's enough. You know what I'm saying? And I keep, as long as I'm, willing, as long as I keep staying willing, I keep staying active and proactive, and when I need help, I ask for it, and I never get too comfortable. Never get too comfortable, because, life is forever changing. So I have to be willing to know that I might have to adapt, and I might have to, venture out, and there might be a different time, one season will end and another will begin. So, yeah, it was a really great meeting. And for anyone who, doesn't understand what recovery is, it's not just about using drugs, dude. It's not even just about being sober, man. Lots of us grow up with lots of things that hurt us, and we never talk about it. We don't even realize that. And the one thing too that he said that I was like, damn. He was talking about how, like, he realized that when he's on fire, like, basically, when you're in your addiction, right, and you're fucking up, like, you do, even though you think that you're not hurting anybody, if you're on fire, everything else around you is still flammable. And I was like, damn. Because there's many a times I was in my addiction, and there's many a times where, like, I was going through life, like, I'm going to do what I want to do. And, I definitely spent a lot of my life like that, especially when I got kicked out and I didn't have anyone to worry about anymore. But even, I just always was like, well, I'm on my own. I can do whatever it is I want to do. But, unfortunately that, when you are hurting yourself, you are unintentionally, setting other people on fire, man. And like, it made me think about how, because I was talking to my daughter and she was talking about how, she misses the kitchen. So for Christmas a few years ago, Santa got her a kitchen, right? And, I'm sure, like, just like we all as when we were kids, we all have memories and attachment to things, right? Like, there's so many, like, I just know that there's so many things in my childhood that were so significant to me. Like, it's crazy. Didn't even spend majority of my life in San Jose, and even though my life in San Jose as a child, I went through a lot, like, that was a huge part of my heart. Like, our San Jose home, in what I made of it, was a huge part of my life. And when we left, like, I was heartbroken. You know what I mean? I was heartbroken not to have my neighborhood and my friends and my room. And, there were big, significant parts of my life there, right? And I know that me being stressed and not asking for help and, getting distracted a long time ago with men, dude. Getting distracted a long time ago with men and taking so long to get on my feet and then finally getting it all together and then just losing it because I didn't know when to just let go and let God, because I didn't have God then. I didn't know that I need to let go and let God, and I should have, because had I not, I could have spent my money and my time more wisely. Since 2020, I really could have spent my time, my money, way more wisely. Could have made wiser choices. And, but, things happen for a reason. I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't have what I have today. And even if it doesn't seem like much to somebody, it's a lot to me. And I mean, I wouldn't have the healing I have today, and I wouldn't have the time to sit down with myself and really fucking, really dissect Lauren from a very young age. And I wouldn't be in all these therapeutic settings, and I wouldn't have all this counseling and case managers and things and this community in Christ to help me heal myself, and I wouldn't have God. So sometimes things have to happen, but recovery is super important, and just got to keep focusing on the good and keep healing. So, like I said, what are you doing for your recovery, and is it enough? So at St. Lauren 57, be safe and be kind.